If this next story doesn't start an argument in your living room, it certainly started one in our screening room. Her name is Camille Paglia, and the mere mention of her name on college campuses and in intellectual salons is enough to start a shouting match. Her enemies have compared her to everyone from Hitler to Marilyn Quayle. Someone even suggested David Duke. Who is she, and what does she do that inspires all that hatred? Well, actually, she's a college professor and a best-selling author, a bisexual radical libertarian who is part intellectual, part stand-up comic, and full-time scold of the feminist establishment. Does she have any admirers? You bet she does. And the biggest one is Camille Paglia.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I give you writer, scholar, provocateur, force of nature, Hurricane Camille.
The 5'3" cultural terrorist is one of the hottest draws on college campuses and the lecture circuit, packing them in from Boston to San Francisco with the inflammatory, politically incorrect message that the feminist movement has lost its way.
What you got is a huge pile of horse manure, okay, which is feminist. Now, maybe there is like a nickel in there, a couple nickels, okay, all right? Why should you have to go through the horse manure to get to the nickels? I'm saying forget that, okay?
A year and a half ago, she was an unknown humanities professor at the University of the Arts, an obscure Philadelphia college. Her academic career was a disaster, and for much of the 80s, the strident, Yale-educated Paglia was unable to find steady work. But that was before she took on the feminist establishment with her 700-page book, Sexual Personae. It made it briefly to the bestseller list last year. She's continued the Take No Prisoners battle with a collection of articles and essays that's currently on the bestseller list and lays out her basic take on the sexes, which is men and women are different. And for a feminist movement concerned with politics and ideology to pretend otherwise, Paglia says, is to ignore both hormones and history.
Would you take it as a compliment if I say that you're the first intellectual heroine I've found for myself since Ayn Rand?
Oh, thanks. Fabulous. Thank you.
Camille Paglia on feminism. Women will never know who they are until they let men be men. Let's get rid of infirmary feminism with its wards full of bellyachers, anorexics, bulimics, depressives, rape victims, and incest survivors. Feminism has become a catch-all vegetable drawer where bunches of clingy sob sisters can store their moldy neuroses.
Yes, I hate victimology. I despise a victim-centered view of the universe, which is symptomatic of current feminism. You do not teach young women that their heritage is nothing but victimization. This is ridiculous.
That's a pretty tough statement.
That's right. I'm going to say...
Cruel, even.
Well, I think that what's happened is that feminism has turned into therapy. I don't think feminism should be a bunch of people sitting around and giving the endless litany of their personal sorrows. I follow the Katharine Hepburn brand of feminism, which is get on with it, okay?
Paglia says the feminist movement began 200 years ago, okay? Not with Gloria Steinem, all right? She supports the struggle for social and economic equality, but fell out with feminist dogma years ago over, of all things, rock and roll.
They said the Rolling Stones are bad musicians because they're sexist. And I said, wait a minute, there's a mix-up here between art and ideology, okay? So then I said, let's take the example of the song Under My Thumb. To me, a great song. Inconveniently sexist lyrics, okay? A great song, all right? Not only a great song, but a work of art. And these feminists were mad and being surrounded me. My back was to the wall, screaming at me, art, art. Nothing that demeans women can be art, okay? Now, I'm sorry, that is the Soviet view of art, okay? That art must serve a political agenda. I'm sorry.
Paglia's idea of a true feminist heroine is Madonna, someone, she says, who knows how to get what she wants. And Paglia seems to be studying her every move. She's posed wielding a knife in People magazine, with a bullwhip and black stockings in Newsweek, and with black bodyguards in Vanity Fair, revealing a little cleavage, an obsession with publicity, and a willingness to weigh in on almost any controversial subject. Camille Paglia on date rape, an issue trumped up by sex-phobic, irrational, borderline personalities.
I think that authentic rape is an outrage, but the date rape hysteria and propaganda over is equally outrageous. It's a tool that a certain kind of anti-male feminist is using for power.
Are you saying that women don't get raped on dates?
I'm saying that I don't accept the category of date rape as a separate crime.
Suppose they don't want to have sex with the guy they're out on a date with.
See, I'm not talking about just the ordinary date. I'm talking about the situations that we know about where the people go up to someone's room drunk after a fraternity party. If you go home, take a man into your room at night that you don't know and you're drunk, you are consenting to sex. And I'm saying that's good. Go for it. Go for it, girl. This idea of changing your mind when you're there, okay, and saying, well, he had no right to do this. Oh, come on.
So you're saying when a woman says no to a man, it doesn't necessarily mean no?
Correct. I think no means no about 25% of the time, in my opinion. It does sometimes mean no.
There's a point where the man's supposed to understand that no, in this case, means no.
But the point is the statement, no always means no, is ridiculous. That's simply not true. It is simply not true. Sometimes it simply means you're asking too fast, or I'm not sure, or I'd like to if I could be sure that you'd respect me in the morning, or I'm still considering. All kinds of things. You know, I myself have said no, and suddenly an hour later, oh, good God, how did this happen? It's amazing the speed with which ideas become orthodoxy in this feminism, okay? First date rape, and now Anita Hill, right? Yeah? 50% of the people in this country, 50% of the women, okay, didn't particularly believe or you know, sympathize with Anita Hill. That's forgotten now. The media, under the control of Gloria Steinem, is off making her the whole thing.
Anita Hill.
Anita Hill, all right, it seems to me, an intelligent and competent woman who has been made into a feminist heroine absolutely unjustifiably. Seems to me this is a classic case of hypocrisy. It's a woman who put her career advantage above feminist principle and then dares to suddenly claim to be a feminist 10 years down the line.
It's my sense that this is one of the biggest issues around right now with women in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Right. It is, and I think that sexual harassment guidelines properly and wisely applied are excellent. I in my own college, pressured for the adoption of sexual harassment guidelines. There's a limit to how far they can go. I feel that women will never be treated as equals until they learn how to defend themselves by speech, okay? If someone offends you by speech, you come right back at them. You come right back at somebody, and you cut them down. It's easy to cut men down. It's easy to turn them into a puddle.
But some of Paglia's harshest words are reserved for academic feminists, whom she calls third-rate careerists teaching women's studies programs that substitute politically correct curricula for traditional classical learning.
You get hundreds of young women, of highly achieving young women around the country to go into the Ivy League, okay? And they are told from the moment they arrive, you will be future leaders, okay? You have to have a career. You must have a career. That is all, and that is the way you contribute, okay? What I'm saying is feminism should be about options, okay? And part of the option is you can have a career, but we must honor the option of a woman who says, I want love. I want happiness. I want life, okay? I want to have children and to give them my attention, to have a garden, to cook, to bake cookies, okay, if I want to, and so on and so forth. That, too, is honorable. In fact, perhaps no greater gift can be given than by a mother to her children than that, okay?
What it sounds like are the sexual role stereotypes that were in place when I was growing up, you know, 20 years ago.
You're quite right. This is really true. That it turned out that the stereotypes, far from being these myths that we thought we could, you know, shatter forever, it turned out that they were kind of deposits of millennia of sexual experience, and that there was something in them.
I think one of the confusions about Paglia is that she claims to be opposing feminism or opposing certain brands of feminism, and she really is opposing women.
Janet Gazzari is head of the Women's Studies program at Connecticut College, where faculty members earlier this year were so incensed with Paglia's book, Sexual Personae, that they tried to remove it from the school's summer reading list. We asked Professor Gazzari what she thinks Paglia's message really is.
That men need to subordinate women in order to bring about civilized life.
Is there room for more than one position in the feminist movement as far as you're concerned?
Not on that issue.
Some of Gazzari's colleagues labeled Paglia's book hate literature as bad as Hitler's Mein Kampf. Gazzari says she understands the comparison, but she prefers another.
Well, I think the position is more easily recognizable by people if you compare her to Marilyn Quayle than it is if you compare her to Hitler.
Why Marilyn Quayle?
Because Marilyn Quayle expresses a kind of mainstream cliche about women and about feminism. And there are very close relations between her expression of it and Paglia's expression of it.
I'm trying to figure out which is the deeper insult from a feminist, to compare somebody to Hitler or to Marilyn Quayle.
I don't know the answer to that one. I think probably Marilyn Quayle.
every time they try to stereotype me as something, they look like big, heavy, lazy battleships. And then there's a little cigarette boat, a Paglia cigarette boat that goes pow, pow, pow. I put so many torpedoes into those battleships, they're slowly sinking, and they don't even know it.
And what about the biggest battleship of them all, the Bismarck of feminism?
Gloria Steinem.
Stalin.
Stalin? Why?
Because she's acted as a kind of establishment oppressor, keeping down dissident female voices of the last 20 years.
Like yours?
Like mine.
Nonetheless, there are...
We wanted to ask Gloria Steinem about Paglia, her popularity, and her charges of feminist dogmatism. Steinem said she couldn't fit us into her schedule. But she did tell us that she, Susan Faludi, and other feminists would be speaking on a panel at New York's 92nd Street Y. So we went to the meeting where, near the end of the question period, 60 Minutes associate producer Claudia Weinstein stood up and attempted to ask the panel about Paglia.
It's an issue that's gotten some sort of heated booing and hissing here.
No, you're not going to ask a question for your show about an anti-feminist woman. I'm sorry.
Why has she gotten so much attention?
We are not going to contribute to the dissension and to the notion. This is our night.
That's right.
Amid the uproar, Claudia kept at it and was finally told in no uncertain terms,
Turn the cameras off. We don't give a shit what she thinks.
Paglia is not the only dissonant voice to be ostracized by Steinem and the feminist establishment. Sally Quinn felt it last January when she wrote in the Washington Post that most women had come to see the movement as anti-male, anti-child, anti-family, and anti-feminine.
The only people who didn't seem to like the article were the feminist leaders who went absolutely bananas.
Gloria Steinem called you a water bug on the surface of life?
Well, I guess that's how I would characterize bananas.
You've met Camille Paglia. You've seen her on television. What do you make of her?
Well, I think Camille Paglia is an entertainer. I think she's a performer. I think she's a comedian. And I find her really interesting and provocative and amusing. And she's also very bright. She's a bomb thrower. But I also believe that when you're starting a new movement or a revolution of any kind, that you do have to be an extremist in order to get people's attention. You have to throw bombs.
One of the things that we've noticed, I mean, there's been a lot of applause, a lot of laughter in the auditoriums. When we come outside and we talk to people, one thing we hear over and over again is, this woman is on an incredible ego trip. Narcissistic. They seem to think that it affects your credibility.
Well, this is ridiculous because the big #1 problem of feminism, according to Miss Gloria Steinem, is self-esteem, the self-esteem dilemma. Well, there am I, walking, talking illustration. I have no self-esteem problems whatever. Okay, well, it's about time there was a woman egomaniac. We've had Norman Mailer, we've had Gore Vidal, we've had Truman Capote. When a woman does it, gee, they start talking about ego. Come on, give us a break.